everyone, it's Justine and welcome to a new tutorial. Today's release day over at Concord and 9th, and I'm really excited to be showing you 4 different cards that I created using the brand new release. I'm going to show you the release and then show you how I made all of these cards to give you an idea of what's available as well as what you can do with it. First up is the lovely Blossoms Turnabout stamp, and I'll show you how that works in just a minute. It also has an optional die add-on with the hexagon, stitched hexagon, and the You Are Lovely sentiment. Then there is a really fun stamp set. This is the thank you. This is triple stamp thank you. So it has all of the letters separated here so you can actually stamp 3 times in 3 different colors. It has many coordinating sentiments as well as a peach and a gem that coordinate with the You're a Peach and You're a Gem stamp sentiment. So there's lots of really fun ideas that you can do with this, and they're really great for creating simple cards. The next stamp is one of my favorites. This one here is the Laurel Frame stamp set, and I love that it comes with the layered flower as well as the outline to cut out the entire flower. You can also cut the flowers separately as well as the inside of the frame so that you can make a shaker card or add something on the inside if you're interested. The next one here is the Stripes and Saying stamp set. This is a really great stamp to have in your craft stash, just some plain stripes. And then there's many little sentiments that can go with it as well. And I like the fact that it's a clear stamp. So I'm going to get straight into the tutorials here. So I'm going to start off with the Turnabout stamp. I've grabbed a piece of 80-pound Neenah Solar White cardstock that measures 4 by 5 1/4, and I've added some removable adhesive Tombow Mono tape runner. I'm now going to line up my Turnabout stamp with the center point. So you can see that I have a template here. This measures 6 by 6. I drew a line from one corner to the other to make an X. And then when I do the same X as per the instructions on the sheet, I can line up the X's and then I know exactly where my background stamp needs to be. I'm going to pick that up with my MISTI stamping tool and I'm going to get started stamping. If you would like a very much more detailed explanation on how Turnabout stamps work and how to set them up and how to draw your lines, I also have a video tutorial that I will link to in the video description. I just don't like to go through it every single time I create a card because that would get quite boring. Okay, so now everything's ready to go. I'm going to start inking up my stamp. So I am going to be using Catherine Pooler inks here to ink up my stamps. And this is one of the brand new colors, Limoncello. It's a really, really vibrant yellow. And I'm just going carefully along it and tapping it along. Because it's a large surface, I'm just going over to make sure I don't miss any areas. And Catherine Pooler inks usually only need to tap about 2-3 times per image in order to get a really good impression when it's all finished. So I'm going to run my hands over the back of the stamp set here just to make sure that it's getting some even pressure onto the card. And you'll see that it's stamped right on there. I'm going to rotate my stamp 90 degrees to the right. Just make sure that when you stamp, it doesn't really matter which way you rotate your stamp as long as you always rotate in the same direction. So try and pick a way so that it becomes a habit, and that way it's easy to go. So I've cleaned my stamp, and I'm also just going to blot it quickly with a dry towel. Sometimes when my tidy towel is a little bit too wet, I might get some ink residue on there, and then it becomes like a muddy brown water droplets, so I like to just dry it off. And I'm going to start it with my next color. Now I'm just going to speed you up as we go along, just so it doesn't take too much longer to stamp this out. Okay, this time here I am stamping in the ink color Mint to Be, and you can see that all of those stamps stamp separately. They don't overlap any of the areas. I rotate the stamp 90 degrees, clean my stamp once again. This time I'm going in with It's a Girl ink, stamping for the 3rd time, and once I stamp for the 4th time, it's going to cover my entire image as if it were background paper. I love Turnabout stamps for their versatility, and you can do so much with them, especially when you rotate colors. You can make spring, summer, fall, winter themed cards. You can make certain ones for holidays, let's say green and red for Christmas, or let's say purple and pink for Easter. And I love when you stamp them, it's always just a fun surprise. So that's the end of how you stamp the background, and because I have my 6 by 6 square here template, I don't like to do too much waste, so I've laminated it so it stays on there, and I can just wipe it clean when I'm all finished. And I like to just keep this inside with the stamp set, and I know that I have this template ready for any of my turnabout stamps that I might want to do in the future. Okay, going on, I'm going to be using the coordinating die, so you can buy the stamp separately or you can buy it with the coordinating die, or this die is available separately as well. I'm going to cut it using some glitter paper from Concord and 9th. I'm cutting the large hexagon here. I've never cut out this before, so I wasn't quite sure what I was going to get with all of the different die cuts. So I'm just going to run it through my Gemini Junior die cutting machine here. You can use any die cutting machine like a Big Shot or Cuttlebug or whatever works for you. And this is going to come out with a couple of rectangles. So my idea was to have a background of glitter and then white on top. So this is what that largest hexagon cut out. So it's cool because you get a frame as well as you get a solid shape. So these are good on their own as well. And then for the next one, I'm just grabbing a scrap piece of white paper this time. I'm grabbing the smaller hexagon, and then I'm putting the sentiment stamp right in the middle. Now what I didn't know is that the smaller hexagon actually only makes a stitched imprint in your cardstock, which means I'm going to be using this a ton in my cards because I love dies that do that add some stitching. It's perfect for one layer cards. So I did have to go back in a second time in order to cut the largest hexagon again to cut out this area. So if I would have known that before I had cut it, I would have done this all in one step. So you can see that beautiful hexagon pattern there, and the You Are Lovely cut out so nicely. And now I'm just adding that largest frame here so I can actually cut it out and make that possible to add to my card. So now I have all of these pieces here on my surface, and I'm ready to start putting my card together. You can see when I layer the hexagons how beautiful that looks with the glitter behind it. And then I also have that little glitter hexagon on the side there, that little small frame that I can add around it too for a little extra touch. So I'm just going to use some Tombow Mono liquid adhesive. This is my go-to adhesive. I'm going to glue the white hexagon on top of the glitter hexagon, and then I'm going to attach it to my card. So I've now just added some final adhesive onto the back white panel, and then I'm just attaching that to the center of my card. And I love the way that it looks against the background. It kind of looks like a shabby chic look for this card, and I love the color combination. So now I have this white hexagon off to the side that I can use on a different card, and I'm going to add the glitter around the frame just to give it a little bit of an extra embellishment. I love the way that this card turned out. I think it really is quite beautiful. The last thing that I wanted to do though is I wanted to fill in the small pieces that were on the card. For example, the center of the O in Lovely, the little piece that separates the Y, and then the little O at the top and the A. And this is just a personal preference, whether you like the look or not with the center in it, it's completely up to you. So now that I've finished attaching all of those to the card, you can see the final look of the card. I'm just going to go ahead and attach it to a card base now. My card base is slightly bigger than my card front. So remember, my card front was 4 by 5 1/4. My card base measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 when folded. And it gives it that nice white frame around it, which I think pulls the card all together and gives it a slightly more clean and simple look. So for my next card here, I am going to be creating a background. Now the background here, I'm actually creating 2 of them, but I'm only going to show it once. I'm going to add the stripes background to my regular sized Misty. Remember that for the Turnabout stamp as well as this one, they won't fit in the mini Misty, it's too small, so because they're 6 by 6 stamps. So what I love about the stripes is that you don't really have to have or be super concerned about where your cardstock is, as long as your cardstock is flush to the bottom ruler of the Misty. So I can move it from side to side because the stripes are the same going left to right. So it doesn't really matter in the end where I put it. And I don't particularly like to put it in the corner because with clear stamps right up against, or even rubber stamps with the Misty, you're going to get a small white area at the bottom. And with stripes, this looks perfectly okay, but with other stamps, not so much. So that's why I like the fact that I don't have to use the creative corners with this. I can just put it flush to the bottom ruler, stamp it over and over, and it doesn't have to be in the exact same spot, just in the exact same spot at the bottom, if that makes sense. So I stamped this actually 3 times in order to get the best impression, and you can see how chic that background already is. I'm now going to grab the Laurel Frame and I'm going to stamp it out to you to show you the different layers. So I started off with Garden Party. It's one of the lighter green inks from Catherine Pooler, and I stamped that onto a piece of 80-pound Nina Solar White cardstock. I feel like my ink pad needs a little bit of re-inking, so I did have to stamp it twice, which is unusual with Catherine Pooler inks, so I just need to go ahead and refill that ink pad later on after I finish filming. I'm then going to add the layering set, which literally took me 2 seconds to line up. It's not that hard, and I stamped it with Lime Rickey, which is a color that is slightly darker, and you're going to get all those different patterned impressions on there. Now it might look a little bit really contrasting right now, but don't worry too much about it. Once you get all the flowers in there, it looks just fine. So now I'm going to add in the flowers. Now the flowers is a 3-part set, and I was a little unsure which one was the second stamp and which was the third. The easiest one was, of course, to figure out was the solid. So I wasn't 100% sure, so I actually did them in the wrong order. And it became kind of, you couldn't really see the details too well, but that's okay because I was able to salvage the card, mainly because they have a coordinating die to cut out just the flowers, so I was able to do that without making too much of a mess. So I stamped the second color in Be Mine and the third color in Party Dress, and those created all the different layers. And I just like this frame. It's just super simple and fun, and I think it's just beautiful when it's all stamped out, and you can just add your simple sentiment from the stamp set. So I decided to create a birthday card for this one, so I added Happy Birthday onto the stamp set and stamped it in some black ink. So I like that all of the different parts of these actually stamp out or die cut, different areas. So I have the full flower here. This is the largest area, and that will cut out the entire frame that I had just stamped out. But as I said, it does cut out the florals separately. So if you make a mistake or you want to add an extra layer, you can do that. Or if you want to add more flowers to it, you could. And this circular piece here actually cuts out the inside, so you can make a frame or a shaker card with it. And I'm going to show you how to do that on the next card. So for this, I just went ahead and restamped those flowers so that they looked a little bit better and a little bit more detailed, just because I stamped them in the wrong order before. And now you can see I have that nice white area around it too, which makes the flowers really pop and stick out. I'm going to attach this to the striped background that I had stamped out earlier, and I think this makes a really beautiful contrast into the background. It's a very, very chic card when it's all finished. And I added some 3D foam tape to it in order to add a little bit of extra dimension onto my card. Okay, so I've actually stamped out the Laurel Frame again, and this time I stamped out my flowers in purple ink, just to add a little bit of a difference this time, because I wanted to show you how that inside actually works. So I wanted to show you that you can create a shaker card with this as well. So I'm just using some purple tape to adhere everything to the cardstock temporarily so that when I run it through my die cutting machine, nothing happens. And I added a piece of acetate. I'm sorry, I didn't film that. So it's a piece of plastic here, and I've just glued it using some Tombow monoliquid adhesive, and I cut it just smaller than the outside of the frame. It shouldn't be too difficult. I apologize that my camera wasn't turned on for that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a long piece of my foam tape and I'm going to double it. So I found that my shaker cards before, the shaker bits always got stuck and couldn't really move around. And so I really realized that the foam tape that I was using wasn't quite thick enough. So by actually folding it over, you're creating a double thickness of the foam tape. And this works so much better for my little bits to move around while they're in there. And I can cut it in half also so that I actually save some of the 3D foam tape for later, or it might work for the entire card. I tried to estimate as best as I could. So I was able to just cut it in half, and that's what I like about the 3M foam tape, is that it doesn't get caught in your scissors or make it difficult to cut, or rip for that matter. So I've gone ahead now and I have been adding the foam tape all around the card. Now you're going to create a circle around the frame without it showing through the frame, of course, and you're going to not want to have any sort of areas that are open. You want to make it a continuous line so that any sequins, pearls, beads that you're going to add to your shaker card are not going to fall out. So what I'm doing now is I'm just adding all of my little bits in the center of my card. I'm using some Pansy Purple jewels from Pretty Pink Posh, some clear droplets, as well as some iridescent mini stars. So now I have my shaker bits ready here. You'll also notice that I cut down my striped panel just to be smaller and just to be a little bit more different than my previous card. So you're welcome to do that as well. And then I added my frame directly on top, making sure that none of the sequins were caught underneath the Laurel frame under the 3D foam tape, because that would cause an obstruction and make things fall out. So I just gave it a good shake to see everything would stay in there. Alright, time for the last embellishments. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of the other coordinating dies that come with the Laurel frame. I am cutting out the banner as well as hello in black cardstock. And I'm also cutting out another hello as well as the there die cut in white cardstock. So the there is just going to attach onto this black banner. It's going to cut the word there directly into the banner. And then I'm going to cut out hello with the white cardstock. So I just aligned the there die in the center of the banner and adhered it using a piece of tape so it would stay in place. So now I have all my die cuts ready to go. I have put some adhesive onto the back of the hello white die, and now I'm going in onto the black one so you can see a little bit better. I just tried to move my glue in like a continuous motion so that it doesn't get a big glob on it. It's kind of spreading it out using the tip. The tip goes directly onto the cardstock, and that's how I tend to use my liquid adhesive. I'm going to add the hello on top of the frame, so it's on top of the acetate right now, and it also adds a little bit of more attention to the shaker bits, I think, also. I'm going to then layer the white hello on top, just slightly off center so I get the black in the background so that it really sticks out. The white hello by itself would have been a little bit lost in the background, so I wanted to add that little bit of black there. And you're going to now see how that banner truly cut out. It's really, really cute. I love the way that that works when you cut the letters into a solid shape and you have that instead of just a standard word die. So I went ahead and added 3 of the silver embellishments here. These are the jewels, metallic jewels from Pretty Pink Posh, and I added those to the front of my card for a little extra embellishment also before adding it to my card base. And I really like lately the look of having a very thick white frame around my card. So I've been really enjoying cutting out a lot of my card panels using that stitched rectangle die that I use. This one I used was from My Favorite Things, and I love that white thickness around it. It just makes it so pretty. So now I'm going on to the last card, and don't worry, it's a really, really, really quick one. So this is the Triple Thanks die, and I just wanted to show you how it works. I don't necessarily think this is the best card I've ever made once it's all finished. I probably could have made a different color choice, but I do love it. And you could, of course, emboss any of these letters too for a little bit of extra fun. So you're going to stamp the first part, and I stamped it in Tutti Frutti ink, which is one of my favorite colors. And it only stamps the T, the H, and the O, or the T, the K, and the O, sorry. And then you can go ahead and add in the other letters, and they all kind of line up. And what's cool about this is you can get 3 different colors for a sentiment. It's a very large sentiment, as you can see, without any masking or really a lot of effort. It's more of a layering stamp. And I stamped the second color in Grape Crush, which is also a new color from Catherine. And then I decided to do my last one here in Tiki Torch, and it's going to stamp the A, the Y, and the U. And so you'll see just how these sentiments work. I also did one a month or 2 ago with the Hooray. They had one, which was really cute also. And you can check out any of my past videos there. I then took a bunch of the smaller sentiments as well as the So Much, and I stamped those in black. I think the colors are so vibrant and fun that adding a little bit of black really makes them pop even more. And this is just a really cute card idea because it took me literally 4 minutes to make this card. So I think it's just a really quick, easy idea. And this stamp is always going to be quite quick. So I really like the idea of these stamps for sure. And I'm looking forward to adding some embossing or maybe a different color choice. So I hope you enjoyed the new release from Concord and 9th, and you enjoyed all of these different ideas I've shown you today. If you're interested in any of the products, they are listed below in the video description, as well as the bundle, which is 10% off if you order all of the new release. So thanks so much for watching. I have a suggested video below if you're interested, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Thanks, bye!